Just this week, North Korea fired off a barrage of a dozen nuclear-capable rockets in yet another live-fire drill overseen by Kim Jong Un himself. State media called it a stark demonstration of tactical nuclear power. South Korea's military picked up the launches heading into eastern waters, and Pyongyang followed up with fresh tests of strategic cruise missiles from its new Choehaeong-class destroyer, missiles that flew low and long, hitting sea targets after over 2 hours in the air. Rhetoric is sharp. Kim has declared South Korea a permanent hostile entity, warned that any threat could lead to complete destruction from the north, and shut the door on inter-Korean dialogue while leaving a narrow crack open toward the US. Yet look at the charts. KOSPI isn't melting down over Pyongyang's moves the way you'd expect. Flashback just days ago, when Iran-related disruptions hit the Strait of Hormuz hard, oil prices spiked, global risk-off sentiment surged, and South Korea's benchmark index plunged as much as 12% in a single session, the worst daily drop in its history, wiping out massive value and triggering temporary halts. The won sank to multi-year lows amid fears that energy shocks would hammer Asia's export machine. VIX futures for March contracts hovered in the mid-20s, reflecting broad uncertainty from Gulf tanker traffic issues and escalating strikes. That was the real volatility driver. North Korea's latest rocket salvos and naval tests, they barely registered as an independent jolt. Traders are treating them as part of the familiar cycle, loud, repetitive, but not yet crossing into material escalation that shifts probability bands. Why the muted reaction this time? Markets have learned the playbook. Pyongyang's pattern of missile barrages into the Sea of Japan, multiple rocket systems demos, and destroyer-launched cruise missile trials has repeated through early 2026 without overflights of Japanese airspace or direct border provocations that force immediate repricing. Lloyd's marine insurance indices show incremental upticks tied more to Hormuz disruptions than Korean waters. Premiums aren't spiking on NK-specific shipping risks yet. Yen flows remain steady as a safe haven, but the big moves trace back to energy market nerves from the US-Iran conflict entering its third week, with no clear off-ramps despite reported mediation pushes and ally demands to secure the strait. Diplomatic architecture is holding firmer ground too. Trilateral coordination between the US, Japan, and South Korea runs on autopilot now. Real-time missile warning data sharing, regular exercises, and the multilateral sanctions monitoring team picking up where the old UN panel left off. South Korea's President Lee Jae-myung just marked March 1st Independence Movement Day by calling for resumed dialogue with the North to build a new era of relations, even pledging respect for their system in pursuit of peaceful coexistence. That's not empty words. It's backed by shuttle diplomacy efforts and Track 2 channels, academic workshops, NGO exchanges, humanitarian dialogues that keep low-level lines open even as headlines scream hostility. These aren't headline makers, but they act as quiet de-escalation indicators when rhetoric heats up. Beijing's leverage remains the wildcard analysts watch closest. Public trade data shows steady volumes with North Korea, no sudden drops signaling pressure application. Sanctions compliance metrics from multilateral tracking highlight ongoing evasion patterns, but nothing abrupt enough to suggest Beijing is dialing up restraint amid its own distractions from global energy strains. If trade flows tighten or enforcement visibly improves, that could signal cooling. Right now, it's status quo. So, what should you track next week and beyond to separate noise from signal? Focus on verifiable shifts, not just KCNA soundbites. Watch missile trajectories, more Sea of Japan terminations versus anything edging closer to overflights. Monitor KOSPI volatility bands. If NK tests start syncing with Middle East energy shocks to push sustained breaks outside recent ranges, caution rises. Check Lloyd's geopolitical indices for any North Korea-specific repricing thresholds being tested beyond Hormuz-driven moves. Keep an eye on trilateral statements, post-exercises, and any Track 2 readouts from think tanks or NGOs hinting at back-channel momentum. Probability bands stay wide. Escalation risks exist if patterns deviate sharply, like prolonged high-volume launches or reduced allied coordination amid resource strains from the Gulf. But the escalation paths are just as plausible. Sustained South Korean outreach, quiet diplomatic pulses, or sanctions metrics improving could anchor stability. The framework is simple: data over drama. Observe first, anchor to public sources like Republic of Korea defense updates, KCNA statements, multilateral sanctions reports, Lloyd's indices, and trade flows. Distinguish theater from genuine inflection points. Right now, the peninsula's cycle looks contained against the bigger storm in the Middle East, But the indicators will tell us if that changes fast. Stay tuned to the numbers. They cut through the headlines every time.